G is for Google, a modder that matters, and a reinforced chassis ends Bendgate. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 399 for Monday, August 10th, 2015. This episode of Tech News Tonight is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a single payment solution, check out Braintree. With one simple integration, you can offer your customers every way to pay. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/TechNight. Welcome. I am Megan Morrone. Let's get to today's big news. I've got two words for you: space lettuce. The fact that scientists had sampled the first foods grown in the International Space Station was the biggest tech news story of the day until this afternoon when Google announced that they would be creating a new holding company called Alphabet. Larry Page explained that Alphabet will encompass a smaller company just called Google that's created to focus on their original core mission. Alphabet will also be the umbrella over the big growth industries like driverless cars and drones, as well as all that other crazy stuff that the formerly called Google company had embraced. That's technology that will help you live forever, dropping internet from the sky with balloons. Larry Page will be the CEO of Alphabet, and Sergey Brin will serve as president. Ruth Porat, Google's current CFO, will be Alphabet's CFO. Alphabet will replace Google Incorporated as the business traded on the stock market, and Page says, quote, all shares of Google will automatically convert into the same number of shares of Alphabet with all of the same rights. Google will become a wholly owned subsidiary of Alphabet. Our two classes of shares will continue to trade on NASDAQ as Goog-L and Goog, end quote. Mike Murphy points out in courts that the company formerly called Google has created a project or a product for every letter in the alphabet. Now, the entity that we are now instructed to refer to as Google will be a slimmer company focused on search, ads, Chrome, maps, apps, YouTube, and Android. Former Google Senior Vice President of Product, Sundar Pichai, is the new CEO. He is essentially already doing this job. To put it lightly, Google's letter, which also included a regulatory filing, created more questions than it did answers. How will this work financially, since ad revenue from Google's core business is what pays for all of the other crazy ventures that they've been trying over the last few years? Or is this why they've made the change? Because as we move to mobile, it's become harder to monetize search. Now, it's a good bet that recent investor criticism of Google as being unfocused is part of the reason for the change. I also suspect that Alphabet might be designed around avoiding embarrassment or financial risk when things like Google Glass or Google Plus fail so publicly. The New York Times and many others on Twitter pointed out that this move is similar to what Warren Buffett did with his industrial empire when it became too large and unwieldy. He created an umbrella company called Berkshire Hathaway that includes everything from underwear to aerospace components, as of this morning. Of course, Page never used the term conglomerate in his letter in reference to Alphabet. Instead, he used the much friendlier phrase collection of companies. Of course, we'll be following the story as it develops. Now to a few more headlines. The Verge reports that Microsoft's Cortana assistant can now replace Google Now on your favorite Android devices. The service is only in beta for now, and if you'd like to take advantage of it, you can sign up just by taking a short survey. Also, a new video on Unbox Therapy claims that Bendgate is over. Bendgate was the name for the controversy over the iPhone 6 bending in people's pockets. YouTuber Lou says he got his hands on a backplate from the iPhone 6S that's rumored to come out in September, and he says it is made of a lighter, stronger aluminum that apparently will not bend even under crazy circumstances that he put it under. Oh, also, the other news is there's that video of the astronauts eating space lettuce that they grew at the International Space Station. Alphabet might be behind that space lettuce, too. We're not sure. Coming up, Ben Heckendorn from The Ben Heck Show is here and why retweeting doesn't pay. But first, this episode is brought to you by Braintree, code for easy online payments. If you're a mobile app developer, check out Braintree. Braintree is the payment solution used by companies like Uber, Airbnb, Hotel Tonight, Living Social, and Munchery. Braintree scaled with these companies from early-stage startups to the successful companies they are today. So Braintree can scale with your business, too, from processing your first dollar to your billionth, no matter how your customers would like to pay. With excellent customer service and simple integration, Braintree gets you ready to receive payments quickly. Braintree gives you a full stack payment solution, support for all payment types your customers might want. So right now you can start accepting PayPal or Apple Pay, Android Pay or Bitcoin, Venmo, cards, and more, all with a single integration across all platforms with superior fraud protection, customer service, and fast payouts. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to braintreepayments.com/technight. My guest today is Ben Heckendorn. You might know him as Ben Heck, star of The Ben Heck Show. Ben is a professional maker, modder, hacker, internet celebrity, and host, of course, of The Ben Heck Show on Element 14, a community for engineers. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
So some of our viewers and listeners probably remember you from your appearance on the Screensavers over a decade ago. We have a short clip.
You've essentially turned an Atari 2600 into a portable.
That's right.
What was the inspiration? I mean, did you want to bring it on the plane, or?
Well, you can get them on planes. It was about 4 years ago. I kind of was looking on the internet. I realized people were still interested in Ataris. I didn't think they were. And I'm like, hey, I'll build something to kind of honor the memory. You know what I'm talking about? And so I just designed it up, and at work we have the machinery that allows me to build it, make the cases, and so basically I could do it, so I did.
I love that. You could do it, so you did.
Isn't that the basis of all science?
I think so. So how did you get started modding? Presumably you were doing it before you came on the Screensavers. I think that was about 2004. How did you get your start?
Yeah, I'd been doing it for about 4 years before that. Well, I was a graphic artist. That was my day job. And that was really helpful in doing a lot of the aesthetic design and the mechanical layout. I don't know, one day I just decided I wanted to try a new hobby. I was into independent film, which is kind of a dumb hobby, really, although I kind of miss it. And so one winter, I just started tinkering around with old video game consoles, and I cobbled together this cool Atari 2600 unit. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I just went on with my life. But I put it on my GeoCities site. This is back in 2000. And I started getting all of this fan mail and requests for more. And I'm like, what? Other people care about this? I was fairly shocked. And so I started just building more and more things, designing new things. I created my own, .com website so people could go to it. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And later in 2004, I actually quit my full-time job and wrote a book about, hacking. And then I also just started doing this full-time from them. So I've been self-employed as kind of a full-time modder, hacker, prototyper for 11 years. Pretty much, yeah, since the year that interview came out. Actually, this video that you're showing, the montage video, that video is actually what really impressed the publisher and got me a book deal doing my hacking video game consoles book. So see, the video editing that I was into back in the 90s came in handy eventually.
Yeah.
It's good advice for people. Just never give up. You never know when your skills might come in handy.
Exactly. And I think that describes like the year 2000, 2001 perfectly, like where we were actually surprised to find people out there interested in the same weird stuff that we were interested in.
Yeah, it's strange to think of a world without YouTube, and the hacker movement really, it was out there, but it was still kind of, relegated to like used groups and whatnot. So I've seen quite a bit of change just in the time I've been doing it. I mean, 15 years is a long time, but yeah, it's weird. But people now have so many more opportunities, especially these kids now. They got 3D printers in schools, and hopefully they'll be able to advance things even further than people my age have. Of course they will.
So you do on your show, you do one big project a week. Where do you get all your ideas from?
Yes, we get asked that question quite a bit. It's usually 1 of 3 ways. I'll think of something, or Felix or Max or whoever's working on the show will think of something here. We'll get a request from Element 14. Either they have an idea, their marketing team wants to line something up with a holiday or an event, or there might be a vendor that has a specific product they'd like us to use for something. And the third way, of course, is viewer requests. And sometimes you get a lot of requests that aren't super optimal, but when we find a good nugget in there, a nice nugget of gold, it's always a nice thing for us, because then it's like, oh, here's an idea. We don't have to think of one. We'll just do this one.
So do you have an idea of how many people actually do the projects, or is it more like people watch cooking shows and think, this is amazing, I love to watch it, but I'm never going to make that?
Yeah, early on, we kind of started with the premise of people would be building the things that I build, but we found there's no way to show enough detail in a 15 to 20 minute video that you could actually fully replicate it. So as I would say about by season 2 or 3, we started to realize it was more people just like to see it being done, just like a cooking show, rather than like, I'm going to go do that. But we do get a lot of feedback where they learn X, Y, Z from certain episodes, and that gives them the knowledge and the inspiration they need to tackle projects of their own.
Yeah, I talked to Burke, who works here with us. He's the guy who fixes everything. And he said that's what he gets, little small ideas, little nuggets in there to do something else. And he always learns a whole lot from.
Right. I feel the same way when I watch other videos on YouTube. Like I love the Dave Jones EEV blog. I mean, he's always great. And I learn things from that. So, yeah, because I think, there are people that just want to take an XYZ kit or a cookbook and replicate something, but it's more about they watch someone and it helps them feel like I could do that. I can project myself into that. I could see myself doing that. It's almost kind of like, vicarious modding. Like I want to do that. So anything, we get a lot of people, we get, a lot of, teenagers or kids like, oh, I watched your show and now I'm going to go into engineering. And that's good to hear, because we need that.
Right. So your most recent show is on a geocache that you made. For those who don't know.
Sorry.
Geocache. I know what a geocache.
Day, my friends and I were arguing over how you pronounce H.R. Giger. Apparently it's Giger, not Geiger. Just made me think of that. Okay, I'm sorry. Geocache.
No, yes. GIF, not GIF. Geocache. Geocache.
You say GIF, not GIF?
I say both.
Well, it's graphic interleave format, so I would say graphic GIF.
Right, but then the guy who created it says it's GIF.
Oh man, that sounds like peanut butter. But that's with a J. See, I can't, that dog won't hunt.
So how about this geocache that you made?
Okay, I'm sorry. So yes, so this is one that Element 14 was like, hey, we'd like to see a geocache episode because it's the summer. And we're like, all right. And then we had I think we were trying to use the BeagleBone Black in something. So a lot of times it's just like, X, Y, Z. Okay, the project will have all of those things. So what we're doing here, we were able to talk about like low power microcontrollers because we have a low power device that keeps the device in a wait state. So it doesn't draw very much energy at all while it's waiting for someone to come along. And when someone comes along, they punch in a code, which gives them access to the BeagleBone Black system. The BeagleBone Black isn't too power hungry, but it takes up, more than a battery would hold. And we wanted something that would last for months and months and months out in the wild. So we were able to talk about a few different things with this. I mean, a lot of it's just straightforward, just making something cool that fits in a case. But so we just try to take one little, like in this episode, we try to make it about like, battery conservation or something. And that's why we picked geocache. And we got this nice yellow box for it so it can be seen from a mile away.
So the BeagleBone Black, is that like a Raspberry Pi?
Yes, it is a, actually, I think I have one right here. It's just like Indiana Jones. I got all the things laying right on my desk. Yeah, it's a little beefier than a Raspberry Pi. Well, apparently this is an old BeagleBone Black, according to the tape, but it's about a 1 gigahertz ARM-based machine. It has a couple microcontrollers built into the die, so it can actually do some other like real-time stuff. Has built-in flash. Yes, but yet it is like a Raspberry Pi. Yes. But
just more for experts. You wouldn't give a BeagleBone Black to a kid like you would a Raspberry Pi to.
No, you could. It's not that much different. It's just a little bit beefier. It's not quite as prevalent as the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi has certainly become the Arduino of embedded ARM boards that can run Linux. But yeah, a lot of people use BeagleBone Black when they need a little bit more oomph than the Raspberry Pi. Of course, there's the Raspberry Pi 2 now that is, quad core? So, it's an arms race of dev boards. They just keep getting better and better. BeagleBone has some cool stuff. Like I've been meaning to I have this other, as I lean over again, I have this 3D printer cape. So a lot of people use them because they're more powerful. They can do all the slicing and driving for a 3D printer. See how that's stacked? Yeah, we just used it in the BeagleBone. I'm sorry, we just used it for the geocache. Why did we use it? Oh, because there was a camera module that we were using with it, and just a few hardware things lined up.
So people could take selfies if they found the geocache.
Yes. And we were joking whilst we were making it that we were hoping people wouldn't flash it or anything. And then it would end up in the flash memory.
So have you gone to retrieve it yet? Flash memory. That's a good one.
Yeah. These are the things we talk about when projects are kicking our butts. It's like, they just drive us mad. We haven't, we are actually going to put it out in the wild, but we haven't gotten around to that yet. We took it to Maker Faire in Detroit about 2 weeks ago, and I believe part of the code wasn't quite done yet. So if it was left in the wild, I believe it would drain its batteries too quickly. So someone at Element 14 is tweaking the Linux kernel to do what we need it to do, which is to automatically shut down the Linux kernel once 4 photos have been taken. Sorry, I burped.
That's okay. So what advice do you have to someone who's just starting out modding and making projects? What advice would you give to them?
Well, don't try to do a project that's overly complicated because you won't finish it. Well, that sounds condescending, but you're more likely to not finish it. If there's something you want to learn about, maybe get a dev board. You can go to Element 14, of course, and, go in the community there and ask questions as well, or maybe buy a dev board. But start with something small. Like, I'm going to automate my entire house, and my house will talk to me like an Iron Man. Like, you don't want that, but maybe you could make some sort of proximity sensor for the garage or a light sensor. Start with one thing, get that working properly, and then you can build from there. Because if you try to do too many things at once, you might get frustrated and not accomplish them all, or you might kind of lose focus, or like, oh, it's not working. Which part doesn't work? I don't know because I've thrown so many things together. So yeah, for starting out, I'd say start small, start with one thing, learn that, and then add more things onto it to combine systems into more complicated projects. That's what I did.
Well, Ben, thank you so much. Ben Heckendorn is the host of The Ben Heck Show. He's at Ben Heck on Twitter. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
No problem.
Take care. And finally, engineer Hunter Scott explained in his blog today about how he created a Twitter bot program to automatically enter those contests you see that say retweet to win whatever stuff you want to win. Scott says that he won 1,000 prizes in 9 months. That's about 4 contests per day. In case you think Scott is busy retiring in Fiji with his winnings, think again. He basically won a big pile of garbage, as you see here if you're watching the video version. It was all garbage, unless you count that cowboy hat that was signed by the stars of a Mexican soap opera that he'd never heard of. Scott also noted that many of his winnings weren't sent to him at all, so think twice before you subject your Twitter followers to this kind of spam. There is a happy ending to this story, though. After surveying his meager winnings, Scott decided to use the Python scripted bot for good. He retweeted messages sent for charitable causes. And that's it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. We are on Facebook. You can like us to get links to the show when it's posted and the stories we talk about. And if you want to be part of the conversation, post a comment on the stories that we post. We will read the best ones right here on the show. And if you like the show, leave a comment on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you can leave a comment. You can also subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TN2. Write to us at tn2@twit.tv and watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.